Hey everyone, welcome to a special bonus episode of Locked On Lakers for a Saturday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers offense goes bonkers. They pick up a big win over New Orleans. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, and obviously sometimes on Saturdays. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, it's always free and never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 23,000 subscribers are wondering where this offensive explosion came from, Andy. Even a team that has been playing pretty well offensively over the last few weeks really turned it up on Friday night, beating the Pelicans 139 to 132. They scored 87
122.
points. I'm sorry, 122, 139 to 122. They scored 87 points, Andy, in the first half. So things really cooled off down the stretch there. 51 points second quarter, 51 points. And this was a night of balance throughout the starting lineup. All five starters scored more than 20 points. D'Angelo Russell leads the way with 30. They overcame early foul trouble from Anthony Davis. All in all, a very strong night in the first game after the trade deadline when, Andy, everybody thought they gave up on the season. Well, I'll tell you who didn't give up. These guys.
Well, tell you who didn't give up, D'Angelo Russell. And I noted after the Nuggets loss that you could really see how much the Lakers offense missed D'Lo, both in terms of his production and just any semblance of organization, or just looking like you're doing anything in particular while you're out there.
Like they have a plan.
Yeah, and D'Lo got super hot early. It was a really good bounce-back game for Rui Hachimura, who was dreadful against the Nuggets. He had 21 points in this game, had 9 minutes like in the first 7 or 8 minutes of the game. You mentioned the 87-point first half. That is the second highest total for a first half in franchise history, going back to a mark in 1987, they put up 89 points. Also, the 51-point second quarter ties a franchise record. So again, they were cooking tonight. Frankly, both teams were cooking for a lot of this game. The F and defense tonight stood for F defense.
Yeah,
neither team seemed interested.
It's Friday night, man. We're out here we're balling, having some fun. Look, I mean, we should just preface everything we say here with when we talk about like looking really good, playing really, we're generally talking about the offense and not the defense, although it got better in the second half. I mean, both teams cooled off considerably in the final 24 minutes as opposed to the first 24.
They're probably tired from all the scoring.
Right. And the Lakers held New Orleans to a 20-point fourth to kind of salt this one away. But you look around and at the numbers, 32 assists against 7 turnovers. Lakers only turned the ball over once in the first half. And this is another place where Russell was a big influence, particularly early, was just getting the ball moving, getting the team moving. And the ball movement was as good as it has been for the Lakers all season long. On Friday night, LeBron leading the way there with 14 assists, but AD had 6, D'Lo had 5, Austin Reeves had 4. Like everybody was just kind of whipping the ball around, and they look like they're enjoying themselves, which is nice because there has been so much, I don't know, angst around them. The loss on Thursday with guys shorthanded. Max Christie did not play in this game. So they're waiting on results from an MRI for him. But it was a nice palate cleanser, particularly, Andy, given that they have 3 days off before their next game. And the next game is a home game against Detroit.
Yeah, and, it's funny. We talked about this after the Nuggets loss. It was obviously disappointing because they played pretty well considering they didn't have D'Angelo Russell. Christie got hurt during the game. They already didn't have Vanderbilt, Reddish, or Gabe Vincent's been out basically the whole season. And Denver controlled the game, but the Lakers, I think, made them work through a lot of it. And there was a lot to, there are not moral victories, particularly where the Lakers are right now. You need to win every single game you can, but not every loss is created equally. And the Lakers didn't play badly in that loss, particularly in the second half. So
particularly, and also too, when it looked like they were going to get blown out early, and they really put themselves back in a position to give themselves a reasonable chance to win, and went sort of toe to toe with Denver until about the last 95 seconds of the game when Denver did Denver stuff.
Right. So it's not surprising to me that they entered this game from the jump with a really good mentality. It was really important for them to get this win because they gained a full game on the Pelicans in the standings. They're one of the teams, I believe now they're 3 games behind them. They're one of the teams
behind New Orleans. New Orleans, by the way, had won 4 games in a row. They are 8 games over 500, which is only good for 7th in the conference right now.
They also got some good news on Cam Reddish tonight from the team. Reading this from Mike Trudell, sideline reporter for the Lakers. Cam Reddish has been cleared by team doctors to begin an on-court progression and ramp up with the hopes of returning to gameplay following the NBA All-Star break. That's really big because we don't know when Max Christie is going to be back. And, Jared Vanderbilt has so far avoided any type of surgery, but he's not completely out of the woods with that. And either way, we have no true idea when he's going to be back. They could use Reddish. I mean, they could just they can use more bodies.
And even the break will come at a good time for Christie as well, and the Lakers just have that stretch of no games. But Vanderbilt is not only not out of the woods, he's very much in it. And even if he avoids surgery, you're still talking likely by the time they're not even going to evaluate him for 3 or 4 weeks to see if there's enough healing or whatever they're doing in that foot to see if he can avoid the surgery. But it's a month before they do that, and when you can't use your foot, you're not exactly in NBA playing shape. And so you're talking about another week and a half, 2 weeks. He's gone for a solid month and a half, even if things go well, I think is a reasonable projection there. You mentioned the standings, Andy. It becomes important. The Lakers, these next couple games, they face the Pistons on Tuesday, and that is a game that you expect to go 3 games over 500 for the first time in a little while. And then you close the first half with a game against the Jazz. And the Jazz are a team that is right behind them in the standings. The Lakers can open up a little space between them and the very back end of the play-in with a win there. So 2 really critical games going into the All-Star break and a 3-day gap between games, which is rare. I'm not sure if people saw it. The Anthony Davis looked like a man who could use a couple days off when he was walking back to the locker room. So
we've talked before. I mean, he banged knees with Brandon Ingram during the game at one point. You could tell he was in some pain. And we've talked before about how, while I think the last few games AD's played very well, I do think he's looked like somebody that the load has caught up with him, just in terms of everything he's been doing on both sides of the ball. So I agree, a few days off would be nice. It was also great that this was a game where the Lakers really looked like they were having fun. Mm-hmm. Because I think they've been missing fun a lot this season. So it's always nice to see it surface.
It hasn't been fun. It's not fun.
But also because this was potentially a showcase game, a try to lure you to us game, because Spencer Dinwiddie was in the crowd tonight sitting with Rob Pelinka the entire game. And according to Dan Wojcicki, who covers the Lakers for the LA Times, when the game ended, he went with Pelinka towards the Lakers locker room. Dinwiddie also was wearing Vans during this game, which has some people speculating Vans is much more of a California thing then Texas, supposedly the
Mhm.
Lakers and the Mavericks.
So if he had been wearing boots and
Bad sign.
arrived on a horse, like that
Bad
would have
sign.
been.
Bad sign.
We can talk a little bit about it. I mean, we don't have to do it, tonight. We can get into it, I guess for Monday, about whether or not how excited you are about Dinwiddie and like what he brings. It's one of these, raises the talent level. Certainly, they could use another guard. He doesn't necessarily feel a ton of needs for them, but talent is talent. I will say Skylar Mays has proven to be a perfectly useful emergency guard.
Yeah.
And he gave him some minutes on Friday that were quality. Gave him some minutes on Thursday that were quality. Now I do not think you want to be playing him 27 minutes a game. He's no Taurean Prince, but bam. But
that felt really, really cheap.
It was really, really cheap. Taurean, by the way, he only played. How much did he play on Friday?
21 minutes.
Perfect. I mean, all of this is wildly unfair to Taurean Prince. Just going out there and trying to play ball. It's not his fault. Like that he has become this symbol for everything people hate about Darvin Ham. And I actually like Taurean, and I really shouldn't have said that. But sometimes you just have to make the obvious joke.
Mm-hmm.
He's a playable guard. So that's a nice thing to see. And then Jackson Hayes, Andy, while the sustained run of totally foul-less play has ended, he put in another 17 minutes on Friday and only had one foul. And that explains in part the 8 rebounds and the plus 17 mark, which was second on the team. And if Hayes can give them the kind of energy that he's able to without picking up 17 fouls a minute, it really does change, both his trajectory for the Lakers, but it also changes what the Lakers can do because he's really outplaying Christian Wood.
Yeah, Wood only got 3 non-garbage time minutes tonight. And honestly, had AD not gotten into foul trouble in the first half, I'm not sure Wood would have played at all. And talked about this before. I don't think you can play both of those guys, Wood and Hayes. There's not enough minutes to go around for either of them to really be put in a position to get enough rhythm to succeed. It's really not fair to either. And Darvin right now seems to be choosing Hayes, and I don't blame him. Hayes has been playing better.
Yeah, and it gives them something different. Like they're playing, the defensive energy, execution, energy, intensity, whatever words you want to use, wasn't quite up to snuff on Friday. But the offensive energy, the moving around, and then the need, what Jackson Hayes is providing, in terms of bounce on the offensive glass and just all that stuff. And it's different than what Wood was doing. It was what they were inclined to go with early in the season. And then Hayes kind of played himself off the floor. Wood played a little better, then Wood's play is tapered off, and now Hayes is playing better. So all in all, Andy, a strong night for the Lakers, a good one coming out of the break. Something, gives them Austin Reeves is going to go play golf for a couple days, he said, but everybody else is probably going to be off their feet, getting treatment, all that, getting ready for Tuesday night's game at home against the Pistons. So we'll be back on Sunday for Monday, and I don't know, everybody can feel good about themselves for a night. So all of that coming up. But first, Andy, we have to tell people this.
That Locked On Lakers is brought to you by eBay Motors, and our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On fantasy basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you with players guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. There's Marvin Bagley III. He is now Washington's likely starting center after the Daniel Gafford trade. So he's worth picking up just for the raw numbers. And Benedict Mathurin, Buddy Hield, is now in Philly. So that means more minutes for Mathurin, who can at times really fill it up. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same thing with your vehicle, and there's nothing worse than having your car break down in real time. It's happened to me before, and I wish I had used eBay Motors back then because I wouldn't have suffered through it. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure that ride stays running smoothly. They got brake kits, they got LED headlights, they got whatever your baby needs. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time or every time. You get your money back. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Locked On Lakers also brought to you by Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? And Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. And we will see everybody on Monday.